Okay, it looks like I'm live. Hello, hello, hello to all you Rainbow Warriors out there. Thank you for joining me for another edition of Hippie Christmas or Wednesdays with MrTieDye. Hippie Christmas comes later. So anyway, I think as you all saw in the little notification, I had just a little bit of an abscess tooth here, so this is just going to be kind of a short video. I even had thoughts of not doing one today, but I hadn't had an idea come to me, but then this morning around 10:30, sitting here and the backward spiral popped up in my brain. So I decided I haven't done one of those in quite a while, and I decided, what the heck, let's go ahead and do one of those. But before we get into all of that, I want to pass out some gratitude. We had some new members sign up since last week on my channel here, so I just want to say some thank yous to Pilar, Sheila, Kim, Sarah, Callie, Deja, Heidi, and Gail. And then I had some donations come in the last week. So thank you to Uniquely Yours, Paula, Cynthia, and Sarah. Much gratitude. I certainly appreciate all of the love and support that I received through this channel. So thank you guys. And Julie is in the house, so she will be passing me a few questions. I'll try to answer some of those. We'll just see how this goes. I did take some pain medicine, so I'm not currently in pain, but if this flares up, like I say, I'll probably cut this a little bit short. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and just jump right in. So I have a tapestry that's been soaked in soda ash. It's been spun out, so it's barely damp. That's my preferred method, that when you rub your hand on it, you can kind of feel the moisture, but it's not really wet. So just barely damp. It makes it nicer for folding. The one thing I did do was fold this into quarters like this here, so that I could find the exact center of my tapestry. So I just folded it in half and then in half again, lined it up, and then I usually will make a mark here in the middle of the tapestry so that I can twist right from the center. So that's what we're going to do today. So we'll just open this up. And then also, since I did t-shirts last week, I do not have a tapestry auction going on this week. I just have a couple t-shirts. I'll show you guys those t-shirts, how they came out after we're all done with the tie-dye here. But I'm sure you guys seen the reveal videos. And let's see. So we're just going to get going. So like I say, I marked the center of the tapestry. Let's see. Okay, yeah, you can see that in the screen. So that's the middle. And then one of the things you can do, if you want to kind of judge how far out you go before you do the backwards part of the spiral, you can take and make some extra marks on your tapestry. So I'm going to do that just to show you guys. Oh, thank you. Let's see here. Jeanette, thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate the support. Thank you. Much gratitude. Okay, so from my center line there, I'm just going to mark out like a 10-inch spot here. That'll be kind of how big my spiral is before I do the backwards part here. So I can put my marker, I got it lined up right now at 20, so I'm just going from 15 to 25. So that gives me, well, let's go, I'm going to go 13 to 27. We're going to do a little bit bigger of a mark here. And this here part isn't required. You can just kind of twist it up and go out, but this here just kind of gives a visual of where I'm stopping my spiral at, or changing my spiral. So for this here, like I said, I just lay the tapestry completely out flat, and then I'm just going to do just a regular twist on the spiral. So for me, I just pinch and twist with my fingers. If you guys have a tool that you use, you'll just pinch in that same spot. The main thing, if you're using a tool, tweezers, pliers, or something, is make sure there's no sharp edges on them. I know like the hemostats, they have sharp ridges on them, so I cover mine up with this heat shrink. So if you're using something like that, just make sure that you cover your tips so that you don't tear a hole in that center part. But I just use my fingernails, my fingers. I trim my fingernails so I don't tear holes. And then I just twist it up. And usually for me, I'll give it a couple good twists here, and then I usually will hold that in place and straighten this out a little bit. And as I twist that up, I can see where my circle lines, where I put those out. I think I'll go just a little bit bigger than where my lines were. I should have kind of figured out how big that was in comparison to the tapestry. But I just keep lining these pleats out. If you stretch that out, you create these longer pleats here, and then you can just wrap all those right around the middle. So I just keep twisting that, and I think we're going to stop right about there. So I took all of those lines that I drew into that center spot there, and now I can kind of stop right there. I'm just going to line things out a little bit flatter. So really it's just a matter of pulling out on the tapestry to create my little lines here, my pleats, and get those kind of heightened, straightened out, and then I can wrap them back around. So I just go all the way around and just pull on it, and that's just kind of adjusting all of my pleats on my spiral there. Okay, so that's the frontwards part of the spiral. Now for the backwards part, you can just take this whole thing and just twist it the other direction, just holding all of those pleats. But the way that I find the easiest to hold everything in place is to put something round over that. And for me, I'm just using just a cap. It's a clean cap here. It's got these nice plastic edges on there, so that will kind of hold things in place. Kind of line that up, center that over the top there. And then I can hold that down in place with one hand. And then since I was twisting everything this way, you can see all my pleats are wrapping around counterclockwise. Well, what I'm going to do now is hold this in place, and I'm going to change the direction. So that's why I call it a backward spiral. And this here just allows me, once you kind of get everything lined up, then you can just start twisting it back up like a spiral again. But this here is helping me hold that initial spiral in place while I readjust all of my pleats going the other direction here. So I just put a little bit of pressure with one hand. I just use my other hand to kind of work these pleats around, and you just keep switching back and forth. And as long as you keep pressure on this center spot here, you're not going to pull those other pleats out. So that's how I do the backward spiral. And you can do the same thing on a t-shirt, although you need to use a smaller lid. So for a t-shirt, you might use a cap that's off of a smaller bottle like this here, or even just a bottle. Something that has just a little bit of an edge that's going to hold things in place when you push down on it. So you just have to find the appropriate size tool for whatever design you're doing on, or however big of a design you're doing. So now once again, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm pulling the edges out, creating these pleats, and then I'm wrapping them around this center spot here. And then we're going to play with the dyeing just a little bit. Just instead of doing just the regular pies, I'm going to add a few extra colors in. And then of course you'll see that in the results of how it changes the spiral around. I've been playing a lot with the spiral. I recently did a part 2 to my mystical magical spiral video. And just in a few days, it's already got like, I think 8,000 or 9,000 views on it. So looks like that one is being enjoyed. Thank you guys for that. Of course, the first part, that one had many hundreds of thousands of views on it. So I figured the part 2 would be popular, and it seems to be. So that's just another thing that I'm doing here, just another way to play with the spiral. So that's kind of fun to play with one design and just do it in so many different ways. And that's how I kind of came upon this design, was just sitting playing with the spiral one day. and I wondered what would happen if I twisted it the other direction. I highly recommend anytime that you are doing something and you wonder what will happen, go ahead and try that. Maybe take a little bit of notes, take some pictures of what you did so that if you like how it comes out, then you can repeat that process. So anytime you wonder, just remember, MrTieDye says go for it. Okay. Now, of course, as we get out to this outer edge here, my pleats are just a little bit taller, and that's fine. We'll just make sure we squirt more dye down in there. But now I'm just going to start adjusting all of these pleats. Get them all nice and flattened out. And I'm still kind of holding just a little bit of pressure on there, but at this point, I'm not going to pull any of those pleats out. But I still like to leave the lid in place while I do this last little bit, and then we'll pop that lid out of there. Oh, but the other thing, I told you I was going to play with the dyeing just a little bit, and this here is a good place to do it. So I'm just going to draw a little bit of a circle around my lid here, and that circle then I'll use later on when we're dyeing the tapestry here. Okay, I think that's good. So now I'm going to pop this lid out of here. So now in the inner part here, I got it twisted this way, or no, this way, and now in the outer part, I have it twisted this way. So that will provide some interesting effects when we put the dyes on and then open it up later. Okay, so now I'm just going to tie this up with kite string. Kite string is usually my go-to now for tying things up, but I have used rubber bands in the past. And I did the second spiral video using rubber bands. So rubber bands are not a bad thing. They're just not my choice for tying things up anymore. I just liked how I can adjust the tightness of my kite string wherever I want to. I can either tie it really tight or really loose. And the rubber bands, unless you have a wide selection of sizes of rubber bands, you're pretty limited in what you can do with those. But that doesn't make them bad. If you love your rubber bands, I say stick with your rubber bands. And at this point, you would just slide all your rubber bands on and you're good to go. All right, we're just about done here. Getting this tied up. And we'll start putting some dye on this thing. And then if there's any questions while I'm dyeing this up, then Julie will bring those up to me and I'll answer a few questions while I dye this one. Alright, I think that's good there. Looks like we have a lively crowd. I was reading just a few of the comments when I came in. It looked like we had some new people, so thank you guys for joining us. Sorry this is going to be a short show. Usually it's a little bit longer and a little more active, but I just haven't been feeling the best in the last week or so. I've been dealing with this tooth for a few weeks since, I think, before Julie left to go on to Wyoming. But I have an appointment on next week sometime to get it pulled out. Okay, so now here you can see on this, here's the bottom side on my spiral. This here is the part where I went backwards. You can see all of the folds where they kind of changed direction in there. So that's kind of fun to look at. But we're going to go ahead and draw some lines on here. I'm just going to do 3 lines to make 6 pieces of pie. And I'm just going to cross all 3 of them right in the center. Right where I started twisting from. And then we're going to put some gloves on and I'll start dyeing this thing. So I'm just going to do rainbow colors on this. But remember I drew that purple line on there. So on some of the rainbow colors I have two shades. So I'm going to switch my pies. So on part of the pie, the inner part, I'm going to use just one color, but on this outer part of the pie, I'm going to put two colors in there. Just so you can see what it looks like when you add a second color in these outer rings here. And let's see, how do I mix primary colors to get a deep purple? Ratios. I don't have exact ratios for you, but if you, for mixing a purple color, you're going to mix your turquoise and your fuchsia. And the more of the turquoise that you use, the darker the purple is going to get. The more fuchsia you use, the more it's going to lean into that kind of a pinky purple. I don't even know what that's called anyways. Yeah, so for darker purple, just add more of the turquoise. And if you want to darken it up even just a little bit more, you might add just a few drops. If you have a black, add a few drops of black. Not a whole lot. A little bit of black goes an awful long ways. I would start mostly with just those two and then add to it from there. Okay, so I'm going to start with primary colors for my rainbow spiral here. And then we're going to expand that out with some secondary colors, or not secondary, but some extra colors. So like I have a sapphire blue, so I'm going to add that in next to the turquoise. I have emerald green, so I'm going to add that in next to my bright green. Oh, there's my plum. And let's see, I do have a light plum that I just watered down. Basically, I made the plum dye and in full strength, I added about this much into my bottle, filled the rest of the way up with water, and that gives me a nice light lavendery purple. Oh, and I got a red here, so let's add that in with the fuchsia. And I don't have a different color orange right now or a different color yellow, so we'll just go with those 4 additional colors here in my rainbow spiral. So let's see if I can get this all the way in the screen here. Sometimes I have to adjust it because I live in the future. I have to wait for the past to catch up. So let's see. I don't see any other questions on there at the moment. But we're just going to go for this. I'm going to start out with some turquoise right here. So I'm going to color inside this piece of pie. So within the purple circle, I just put that, but on the outer edge here, I'm going to just color half of the pie. And like I say, you can color the whole thing all one color if you want to. I just want to kind of show you what it looks like when you add more colors further out from the center there. So we'll just go ahead and finish that part off right now. So here's sapphire blue going into the outer part of the piece of pie. Alright. And next color, we'll go with yellow here. And it looks like I drew some big slices of pie and some small slices, so that's alright. Oh, yeah, we're going to color inside the whole circle here all yellow, and then just half of that in the, or no, wait a minute, we don't have a yellow. Okay, so the yellow will do the whole thing. Alright. Oh, and I think I was reading about the Hurricane Laura in here. Somebody, their house was hit. I guess not as badly as it could have been, but for anybody that's dealing with the hurricanes, I'm sending some peace, light, and love out to you guys. Sometimes Mother Nature just does some weird stuff. Alright, and next we got fuchsia here. So I'm going to color inside the piece of pie, inside the purple circle, and then we're going to go just half of that on the outer circle. And on these outer parts here where the tapestry is just a little bit thicker because there's more fabric, I'm making sure to squeeze some extra dye down in those pleats there. So the red and the fuchsia look pretty close, but you should be able to, in the end results, see the difference there of that red next to the fuchsia. Okay. And the green down in here. And then just a little bit of green on the outer. I think I hear Julie coming with more questions. Or I guess one more question. Okay. I love your tutorials. I sent you an email a few days ago. No rush, just wondering how long to expect for a reply. Yeah, I've just gotten way behind on all of the questions, mostly because so many more are coming in. But I hope to get to the emails. I used to go sit down at all of my platforms and answer all of them every day. And now I've kind of jumped back and forth trying to get caught up on things. So if you sent it to my email through my store, I'll probably be answering those today or tomorrow. And I've been playing at getting the ones on YouTube answered also. But I know I'm probably 4 days out on the YouTube ones. So I do hope to get to all of them soon. But it's also a thing that I'm working on my frequently asked questions page. And I'm slowly going to be directing more and more people over to that. As well as there's lots of questions that are answered in the different tie-dye pages. There's lots of questions answered over on the Dharma site. So I'm going to start spreading more of those links around that will be resources for helping you guys find answers to your questions if I can't get to them right away. But yes, the email ones, I did see a few of those come in through my store. And I will be getting to those, like I say, hopefully today, maybe tomorrow. We'll see how my tooth does. Okay, now we got the plum out here. I dyed the inside the triangle inside the purple circle, and now I'm going to add one more ring of the lighter plum out here beyond the circle. And you guys will see the results of this on probably Friday of what that does. Alright, let's get this flipped over and we'll dye the other side of this. Oh, let me lay down our towel here just to soak up some of this excess dye. Sometimes it's nice to have a clean, dry towel handy. So let's get that back in the frame and we'll get this finished dyeing here. Alright, you guys can see that. Okay, oh, I didn't draw my lines on the opposite side, but I can still kind of see where my triangles are. We're going to do the same thing on the back side. I'm dyeing all of the pieces of the pie within the ring here. And then the outer part, I'm going to add just a little bit of extra color in there. Oh, and I want to thank you guys. If you were some of the ones, I got an enormous amount of birthday wishes from a couple days ago. I turned 55 in 2020. So I got a whole bunch of birthday wishes, so thank you for that. Also, I put an update on my Facebook page, but I don't know if you guys have asked about Julie and her foot in here, but she had gone to Wyoming and had taken a fall a couple days before she headed home, and she thought she just sprained it, so she bought herself a leg brace, an ankle brace, and just kind of went on with it. But she came home and they did some x-rays and they said that she had a broken bone in there, but she had to go wait and see the orthopedic doctor. Well, once she went and seen him, he determined that it wasn't a broken bone, that sometimes when you stretch the ligaments and stuff and take an x-ray, it can cast a shadow that looks like a broken bone. So she went from a sprained leg or sprained ankle to a broken leg back to a sprained ankle again. So she wore the boot for a while, and now she's back to wearing just the ankle brace, and she's doing very well with that. But also, you guys just sent all kind of love, light, and support. Who knows, maybe she did have a broken leg and you guys healed it for her. We'll never know. But anyways, I want to say thank you for all of the comments that everybody made over on the Facebook page for Julie, for her well-being. I love this tie-dye community. You guys are some awesome people out there. All the Rainbow Warriors. Okay, so we're slowly getting worked around the circle here. It would have been a little bit easier if I had drawn my line. Usually I try to draw those lines on, but I wasn't thinking clearly, so... But usually I can still kind of spot where the colors go. But just for your guys' reference, if you remember, usually what I'll do is I'll draw my lines on and I'll kind of make a tick mark so I can flip it over and put those same lines on the bottom side there. So that does help. Alrighty, we're getting down to our last colors here. And then, like I say, I'll probably take a few more questions and then we're going to cut out early today. I didn't want to leave you guys hanging with no Wednesday MrTieDye because we've been doing this. This is my 23rd episode, if you guys can believe that. 23 weeks in a row we've been doing this. So thank you guys all for joining me. I don't know if anybody's been here for all 23 of them. If you have, raise your hand. Do something out there to show me how long you guys have been tuning into these live videos. I know I've been here for all 23 of them. My first live. Well, welcome and thank you for joining us for these live videos. Like I say, normally they run a little bit longer. I usually do more question and answer with them, but this week we're just lucky that I made it on here. With this tooth, I am sure you guys have had toothaches before, so many of you probably know, but sometimes it's just hard to concentrate when you have a nagging tooth hitting you. Anyways, I'll stop whining. Okay, so here is my backwards rainbow spiral. I'm going to soak up just a little bit of that excess dye before I put this away to batch. But I'm going to sit this in my tub. I know sometimes you guys ask how I batch. I don't put mine in a plastic bag. I'll bring the tub over here. I have one of these, I think it's like one of the under the bed tubs, and I went to the closet department in Home Depot. I bought these here at some store, I don't know which one, but Then I found these racks in the closet department. They came in like 8 or 10 foot lengths, just a wire coated rack here, and I just cut them down to length. They got a lip on one side, flat on the other, so I cut some 3/4 inch PVC pipes just to level my rack out. But this here is how I batch my stuff. I'll put a lid on this, and then since it's sunny out, I'll set this out on the roof in the sunshine. Of course, it'll have a white lid on it, so it's not going to be in the direct sunlight, but that will help speed up the batching. Although I still batch mine for 48 hours regardless of whether I put heat on them or not. The only time I don't batch for 48 hours is if I have a rush order. I've had people contact me one day and tell me they need a tie-dye the next day. And those are usually the times where I will do either the microwave setting, but recently I found the vegetable steamer works excellent for setting your dyes. So I did do a fireworks video on steam setting with a vegetable steamer, and that works for the rush orders. I still prefer the look I get from letting them batch for 48 hours. And definitely the washout seems to be easier because most of the dye has either bonded with the t-shirt or it's about spent, so then it can't even go back in and back stain. So that's my reason for batching for 48 hours. So it looks like I got a few more questions here. I'm going to go ahead and get to those. Oh, and I also said that I would show the t-shirts from last week. Just got to clean that up. So let's see here. I'm just starting out. I could go crazy with all the colors available, but what colors do you suggest I purchase? For me, when you're just starting out, the best colors to start with, if you're just going to get a few, would be the primary colors, which in tie-dye, it's turquoise, lemon yellow, and fuchsia. And from those, you can mix these two and get an orange. You mix those two and get a green. If you mix it heavy with the lemon yellow, you get a bright green. If you mix it heavy with the turquoise, then you get a darker green like emerald. And if you mix these two, then you get your purple. So, and then the other color I recommend, so this would be a 4-color startup, would be your 3 primary colors and then a black. And Dharma's got several blacks. I think of all of them, if I was getting just one, I'd probably get Raven Black. But in the past, I think Better Black was my favorite, but now I use a mix. So this here is the black mix that I have. I put 3 powders in. I have Raven Black, New Black, and Better Black, all from Dharma. And that's what I mix my black with. If you want to get more, and your budget allows more than just 4 colors, then getting the secondary colors helps out a lot. I get deep orange because you can mix an orange from your yellow and your fuchsia. It's just a little tricky and time consuming to figure out just how much of each to get the shade you like. So I use deep orange for that. For my green, I like emerald green. So that's a nice secondary. And then for my purple, I use plum. So those are just some of the colors that I've been using almost since the beginning of my tie-dyeing. I've liked these. Since then, I've added a bunch of new colors in that I kind of swap around. But these are my basic colors here that I've been tie-dyeing with for 20 years. My primaries, my black, and then my secondaries, which is deep orange, emerald green, and plum. So I hope that helps you make your decision. Yes, there are lots and lots of colors out there, and really it's just a matter of picking some that you like, but starting with the primaries is a good way to go because you can start mixing your own colors right from the primary colors. Where do you get your rubber gloves? I buy mine from Costco. They may be available online, I'm not sure, but I go into my local Costco and I buy They used to have 3 sizes. Now sometimes they have just 2. I buy large and medium, and whenever they have them, I'll buy the small. But they come in a box. They come in a 2-pack. So this here's got 200 gloves. Comes in a 2-pack of these, and I can't remember the price. It's been too long. But I like the gloves from Costco. They're nitrile, so if you have latex allergies, these ones are good for you. And let's see, what do you mix the powdered dye with? I just mix my powdered dye with just tap water. I know some dyers, if they're on a well or they live in a city where they got hard water, where there's extra minerals and stuff, that can affect how the dye comes out. So if you live in one of those areas, then what those dyers have done is mix their dyes with distilled water. And you can mix, I do have a video on mixing dye. You can mix just the powder and water and you're good to go. The only other thing that you need is soda ash, and that's what I soak my t-shirts in. And you can go to my channel and look for the beginners playlist, and it does have a video, well, one video on me just kind of doing a tie-dye and explaining the whole process. And then it also has a video on mixing the dye, on mixing the soda ash, and then I also have my washout video there, my batching video. So the beginners just kind of gives a bunch of different tips. And then if you want to, you can mix in urea with your dyes. Urea is a wetting agent, and what it's going to do is help you, well, the wetting agent is going to help keep your dyes wet for longer, and the dyes need to stay wet while they batch. If they dry out, the dye is no longer active. So if you live in a hot, dry climate, then the wetting agent is going to help you. It also helps you mix more of the powder into the liquid. And I know with my black dyes, I use twice the amount of powder I do as all my regular dyes. So I definitely put urea in with my black, and the rest of the dyes I do it sometimes. So if I'm going to add urea to my dyes, I will use 1 tablespoon of urea for 32 ounces of dye. And on my black, I'll use 2 tablespoons for 32 ounces of dye. So I hope that answers that question. Oh, and we got some more super chats here. So let's see what we got going on. Thank you, Uniquely Yours. Good afternoon to you too. Thank you. Much gratitude. And Debbie York, you're amazing. Thank you. I certainly appreciate all of the support that I get. Thank you, thank you. Namaste. Okay, how do you feel about all of the ice dyeing? Well, Dharma is going through a dye shortage. I don't know how I feel about it. The ice dyeing, I don't know for positive. Some people say that you use way more powder with ice dyeing than you do with liquid. I've done some. I know there's times when I was very new. I know I used probably way too much because there was a whole layer of dye left on my tapestry or t-shirt. So I probably used too much. That's not anybody's fault except for mine. But as I've gone for it, I've started adding a little bit less, so that all of the dye powder goes through. So I don't really have any response to that. I know there's several other dye houses. Dharma, I know they've been getting hit hard, but there's Custom Colors in North Carolina, and there's ProChem, I believe, in Massachusetts, and there's Grateful Dyes in Colorado. Those are the main dye houses I know about, but there's a bunch. On my frequently asked questions page, I do put some links to some other places that people have told me around the world, but I don't know if there's a correlation between dye shortage and ice dyeing. I'm not going to comment any further on that. Julie says you're not the only one in the house with the toothache. Annie's viewing from the hospital where her husband is being treated for pneumonia. Oh, send some love and light and healing energy out to your husband. And thank you for watching. Fall is coming. Do you do long sleeve tees? Yes, I do long sleeve tees. I'll probably be starting to mix some of those in with some of my playing around. Although I'm not currently taking custom orders, I will be doing some long sleeve tees. And I do have one video up on long sleeve, just kind of showing how sometimes I'll just wrap them in with the design or scrunch them up. And other times I'll put something extra on the sleeves. So you can look for long sleeves on my channel and see what else I do with the long sleeves. Let's see, do you use urea? Okay, that was one that I just kind of answered when I was talking about the dyes. Yes, sometimes I use urea, but not always. Shelf life of mixed dyes. So our house is usually about, I would say, somewhere between 65 and 75 degrees. So after I mix up dyes into bottles, and I always mix mine into 32 ounces so that I have 2 full 16-ounce bottles, I put duct tape on my bottles, and then I write the date that I mixed the dye right on there. And I found that I still get good color, you know, after a week. When I get into 2 or 3 weeks, I can notice that my colors are just a little bit lighter. If at 3 weeks, if I still have a whole bunch of dye left, I will go ahead and add another scoop of powder to this and reblend it. I only do that one time though. If you do that multiple times, you're going to end up with kind of a bit of sludge buildup. You probably can do it more than once. I try to do it just once, and then I try to make sure that I use up all of my dye at that point. The dyes will last even longer though if you have a fridge to store them in. If it gets too warm in here, like I say, higher than 75 degrees, what I'll usually do is take some wet rags and I'll toss these over all of my bottles just to kind of provide a little bit of air conditioning for them in the hot weather. But if you have a spare fridge to store them in, then your dyes are going to last much longer. But 2 to 3 weeks, and that doesn't mean that they're dead at that point. At the 3-week mark, you can still use the dyes. They're just going to produce a little bit lighter of a color. And sometimes that's a nice effect. If you have some new dyes and you have some old dyes, you can use them in combination. I'll do that when I'm doing like my wild spiral. Sometimes the wild spiral will be mixed up of all just old dyes where they're all just kind of a muted tone, and sometimes that lends to the effect that I want from the wild spiral. But other times I might use 3 colors that are brand new and then 3 colors that are old, and then that kind of, those muted colors are a little bit lighter and the bright ones pop out from there. So I just like to kind of play with that. I don't judge a lighter color as being bad, it's just different. If you don't want the lighter colors, then it's advisable to use up all of your dyes within 2 weeks. And if you're not doing that, then instead of mixing in large bottles, like I say, if I know I'm not going to use up a color like red, I don't use a whole lot of red. So when I mix up red, I mix it up in a smaller bottle so that I can go through that in the same period of time. But it's a nice thing to have a date written on the bottle when you mix it so that you know when you're getting close to that point. Okay. Dharma is out of black. Have you had any luck with black from other dye houses? I've bought dye from Custom Colors, and I liked it. I just liked my 3. Let's see, which one did I get here? Yeah, I got the Custom Colors dark black, and that's amethyst and clay. Yeah, so the Custom Colors dark black, that's a really nice dye. Other than that, I've only used black dyes from Dharma. I haven't tried any of the others. This one here, the dark black, it's 618. It's a really nice color in there. But my 3 color mix was a little bit darker. I did a test here a while back where I mixed up some of mine, I mixed up some of this. I dyed 2 t-shirts at the same time, batched them the same, washed them the same. And this one here produced really nicely, just not as strong as, but you know, when you're mixing 3 blacks together, it's to be expected that it's going to be better. So anyway, yeah, I do recommend trying other blacks out there. There you might just find a new favorite by going to a new dye house. How do you set your dyes with the microwave? Okay, with the microwave, the way that I set my dyes, let's see if I got them right here. Nope. I will take a gallon-sized Ziploc baggie. I do my tie-dye up just the same way, and then I will stick that into a Ziploc baggie, a gallon size, squeeze the air out, and Ziploc it shut. And then I'll put that in the microwave. I set it for 2 minutes, but you can't turn it on and walk away. The bag is slowly going to fill with steam. That takes about a minute, maybe a minute and 15 seconds. And at that point, when the bag looks like it's ready to pop, you need to open the door, let that cool, and the steam will slowly settle back down. Then you close the door, turn it back on, the steam will go back up. You do this about 4 or 5 times. So you have to stay right there. You don't want the bag to pop and let all of that chemical air out into your microwave. Although it's most advisable to have a separate microwave for doing this. For if you're going to microwave your dyes, it's best, highly recommended that you don't use one that you use for food. But steaming it in the bag where you're not actually exposing any chemicals to your microwave is one way, but you need to make sure you stay and watch it. So pull up a chair and just sit down and do your tie-dye. And then when the buzzer goes off at the 2-minute point, then I'll go ahead and pull that out carefully with some pot holders, set it in your sink, and let it cool. You don't want to open that bag because that steam is going to burn your fingers. Even if you think you can just pop it open real quick, you're still going to burn yourself. So I recommend pick it up with pot holders, set it in the sink, let it cool for 20 minutes, and then you can go right into washing it if you want to. And that's how I microwave. But like I say, I did do a t-shirt in a vegetable steamer, and that worked perfect. I was able to just set the vegetable steamer outside. Its only job is to steam tie-dye, so I'm not worried about any kind of contamination. And any of the fumes from the heating of the chemicals is all going to be outside. It's going to be dispersed. So my preference now is to use a vegetable steamer rather than a microwave. With black, why does it take 2 to 4 times more powder to be dark? I don't know. It's just the way it is. My whole time of doing tie-dye, I've never, until I started mixing 3 of the blacks together, that's been the darkest I've ever been able to get my black. It normally comes out like a really dark charcoal-y color, but I don't know why it is so difficult to get a black. It must just have something to do with the way that they make the dye powders. Black is harder to achieve than all the rest of the colors. And I've just accepted that's just the way it is, and I try to then compensate with adding more dye for batching longer. Black does take longer to set up, so that's the whole reason I started batching my stuff for 48 hours rather than 24, is to give them more time. Heat also helps the dye, so I put them out in the sun, like I say, with a lid on my container here, so they're not sitting in direct sunlight, but a lot of condensation builds up on the inside, so I know that there's a lot of steam happening in this tub when I set outside. So those are the things that help your black, is using more dye, batching for a longer period of time, and adding heat. The other thing that I'll add to my black dye is salt. Salt is supposed to, when you're doing a vat dye or low water immersion dyeing, is supposed to help push the dye particles out of the water and into the fabric. So I don't know just whether that works or not. I haven't done a side-by-side comparison, but I will also add salt to my black dye just as another way of trying to increase the color of my black. Okay, well, Julie's writing questions out as fast as you can here. Let's see. Caden also sprained her ankle. Ooh. Well, let's send some love and light out to Caden and see if her ankle heals up faster. And Debbie is recovering from COVID. Lots of healing, love, and love in the house. Awesome. Yes. Sending peace, love, and light out to you, Debbie and Caden. And to everyone. And hopefully your injuries and your illnesses will heal up quickly. Okay. I think we're going to call this pretty close to being good here. I'm going to answer a couple more. Is it possible to make a 7-point Mandela? Yes, you can do a 7-point Mandela. It just takes doing some math, and that is one that's on my list here. So I will try to get the 7-point. I've done a 7-point star at some point. 7-point star at some point. Here, I think in the last year. So a Mandela would be the same thing. You do the fold up the same way, and then you can tie it in a Mandela rather than just doing the star. Have you tie-dyed pants? Yes, I wear tie-dye pants and shorts all the time, and recently I had some requests for that, so I bought another pair of tan pants and I dyed them up and I did a video. So I will get that video edited soon and I'll have that out. Do you use a particular brand of shirts? I like the Gildan Ultra tees. They're 6.1 ounce and they seem to be pretty standard in their sizing. When I was still new to tie-dye and doing the Saturday market, this would have been back in 2005. Yeah, 2005. I started doing the Salem Saturday market. And at that point, I was trying a few different brands out. And I can't remember what all the brands are. But from trying them all out, over a period of, I think, 2 years, the Gildan Ultra were the ones that I liked the best, just in the sizing. So if somebody came into my booth, said that they wear a large, they could just pick a t-shirt off the rack. Sometimes some of the brands seemed like their sizing was just off a little bit. Some of them had other issues. But like I say, that was 15 years ago that I made my decision, and I've just stuck with the same brand this whole time. So Gildan Ultra are the ones that I like.
Your mom's just joined us.
Oh, heard my mom is in the house. Hi, Mom. Nice to see you. We're getting ready to sign off here, though. Okay. Here is one more question. Would a stovetop steamer work? Yes, I think anyway. I would assume that you're asking about like a microwave dye. Stovetop Steamer, I know they make those for steaming these silk dyes. You can dye silk with these Procyon dyes, but instead of soaking in soda ash, you soak it in white vinegar, and then you use heat. And steaming is the method for the silk that you use, and I have seen all kinds of stovetop steamers. So yes, you could put your t-shirt in a stovetop steamer, and I don't know how long. I know when I did my one video, I steamed in the vegetable steamer for 40 minutes, and then I let it cool for 90 minutes, and then I washed it. But that's, if you look for the fireworks video, that's the one that I did the steaming on the vegetable steamer. So I would imagine the stovetop steamer would be the same thing, and you could test that out. You could put it in there to steam for 30 minutes and wash it out and see. And you could put another one in for 40 minutes or 60 minutes and see if you get a color difference there. But yes, the heat is definitely going to speed the setting of the dyes. But my ultimate preference still is to batch for 48 hours in one of these tubs out in the sun, so that I do get that steaming, that heating action going on, combined with the extra time. And by the time I get around to washing my dyes, they are fairly well, all the dyes are fairly well spent. It seems like less of the dye washes out, but whatever dye does wash out, it doesn't try to restain anything. I also wash with Synthropol, so that's another agent to try to help keep the dyes from going into your t-shirt. Anyways, thank you guys for being here. I apologize once again for the shorter video, but It was still fun. I didn't want to miss out on my record. It's been 23 weeks in a row. So hopefully you guys have a wonderful week. And I will see you guys on Friday or Saturday with my hippie Christmas when I wash out this tapestry for the backwards rainbow tie-dye backwards rainbow spiral. Something like that. That's what we're calling this. Okay. Thank you. Peace, love, and light, and laughter out to all of you. Go out there and send some peace, love, and light out to all your friends and family and just out to the world in general. We certainly need it right now. And I will see you guys again soon. Love you. Oh, and I will be putting more videos up, so stay tuned for those. I'm going to try to do a regular release on Mondays for a while. As long as I have a video, I will be putting a new video out every Monday. So, peace. Love you guys.